Your early coaching days. Take me into whatever you remember from that conversation with Coach Leach, where he's trying to essentially get you to retire as a player to join his staff that you were playing for.
Yeah, I was kind of blown away that I didn't know him that well yet. I'd only been playing for him for that year.
Kind of insulted, right?
Leaving it, not during it, I wasn't. During it, I was just like, man, the head coach is like bringing this walk-on quarterback in and he spent like 2 hours with me, and he's taking me through. He's selling me now like I'm a dang recruit. I was kind of just shocked. And then I left it, and I got a little insulted, kind of angry about it, because a competitor in you wants to still play. And so I did what I do in tough times. I got away, drove down to our family's lake, came back kind of with a changed approach to it.
You ever think about how things would be different had you not made that?
Sure. Yeah. No, I do. The injury probably helped me come to terms with it that I had in high school on my throwing shoulder. If not for that, I probably would have said, no, I'm going to keep playing, or I'm going to transfer and go do something else.
Because you couldn't throw right
Not
anymore.
like I could. And I'm not saying I would have been an NFL quarterback had I not got hurt. Surgeries weren't quite as efficient as they are today. There was that realization in the back of my mind, I knew that I didn't have what I had before. And I think that probably helped me make the decision to jump into coaching.
When you took that job, I read somewhere that you never went to another frat party, and you cut out almost all your friends except Caitlin.
Yeah, because by that point I had a lot of great friends on the team. I was with those guys all the time. Those were my friends. I had a couple of friends outside of it, but not many. And yeah, it's like when I did it, I was like, when I do something, I go, and I did. I never hung out with those guys again.
Why not?
Well, because I just felt I was on the other side of it, and here I'm going to be in there with these guys here, and their futures discussed or this or that, and I never wanted to put myself in a position where I compromised that. It's like some of the hard things you do now. It's part of the job, and it's necessary, and if it's what we got to do, it's what we got to do.
Garrett says you learned just about everything from Coach Leach. What did he teach you?
A lot, yeah. Way past football. He really helped. The responsibility he gave me early on really helped me get ready to become a head coach. I didn't even think about the time, but every schedule that we did, every bowl schedule, every practice schedule, I remember when we would play a bowl game, we would get the bowl assignment, that Monday after, Sunday or Monday after the last game, and he and I'd be in there till 3 or 4 in the morning putting together the bowl schedule. And at the time, I was like, well, I'm just helping, doing whatever, but then all of a sudden, fast forward a few years later, and I'm in charge of all that, and it was, I'll say easy, but it was I've been doing this forever, and that's, I think, a lot of the things that head coaches can struggle with in the beginning is they've coached a position or a unit, or they've called plays, but they've never had to do all of that. Well, Mike hated doing all that stuff, so he gave it to people and let them do it, and so yeah, just.
But you probably didn't recognize when you're in it how rare that opportunity was.
No clue. I was just so focused on just trying to help the team and prove my worth there that, yeah, I had zero perspective.
Brutal hours though, right?
Brutal. Because he's a night owl. He was a complete night owl. So I learned pretty quickly, do my classes in the morning, and then he'd get to the office between 1 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then stay all night and get up and do it again the next day. And nothing about Mike was typical. My first position meeting with Mike as a quarterback, he put in a dip of Copenhagen and proceeded for the next hour and a half to talk about all the different types of dip, the different cuts, how they affect you, all this and that. And
which he's since called bullshit on. But
well, it's completely true.
Okay, yeah.
I have 4 other QBs in there that will happily verify, but you just never know where those could go. So you had to have, and Mike was smart this way, he had people behind the scenes that were gonna supplement.
Tell about your Valentine's Day dinner with Mike Leach.
It was kind of a fork in the road. I'd been an assistant off the field or, unpaid for a long time. This was the job was open, and that was if I'm gonna get hired and be a full-time coach here, this is the one. And if not, I gotta go restart somewhere else. It was pivotal, and Mike never did anything fast. And So we're, just hanging on for I felt like months for
Really?
him to make this decision. I mean, every night, I can hardly even go to sleep. I'm just like, is this going to happen? Is it not? And yeah, one night he grabbed me before we had a late night team workout there that we would occasionally do. And we were up there and he said, hey, let's go grab some dinner. And he told me he was hiring me. And it was kind of like, yeah, it still gives me chills to this day.
What about it still affects you?
Well, had he chose the other way, who knows? I didn't have many ins into this business. I wasn't a big time college player. You start thinking about all right, if this doesn't work, what are you gonna do next? I was 23 years old at the time, and the way things were going at Texas Tech, the receiver coach at Texas Tech, because of how much we were throwing the football, was a fairly prominent position. He could have gotten a lot of way more qualified people than me. And so I certainly didn't feel like a shoe-in by any stretch. And so, yeah, it's one of those moments you feel like my life and my family's life has an opportunity to be a little bit different based on what had just happened.
And what was his role in you getting that first OU job?
He had a role. He definitely did. Bob was, looking for a new OC, and Mike had taken the Texas Tech job from Oklahoma, and so they had a great relationship. And it was really, two people really helped. Mike really helped a lot. Calling Coach Stoops, telling him, what he thought about me, and then actually, funny, I actually had interviewed with Kentucky prior to that, where Mark Stoops was the head coach. And as we went through, Mark and I agreed it just wasn't the right fit, exactly what he was looking for. But when Bob had the job opened up, Mark called Bob and told him that he knew what Bob was looking for and thought that I would be somebody that he ought to take a look at. So those, having those two people vouch for you was big, because I'd never even met Bob before our interview, ever.